I'm gonna make an insane 3D render using geometry nodes in only one day. Before this challenge, I knew nothing about geometry nodes. None. Zero. Zilch. For those of you who also don't know anything about it, here's a simple explanation. Think of them as a set of building blocks put together to create complex shapes or effects. You might be asking yourself, how is it different from just modeling something like a normal person? The whole point of it is that it's non-destructive, meaning you can go back and adjust things, like drawing with a pencil instead of a pen. I knew that this seemingly hidden feature had incredible opportunities and might be the key to unlocking a whole new world inside of Blender. My day starts at 5 AM, making sure I give myself enough time to complete everything. I started simple, learning the basics of geometry nodes.
And hopefully this video will just have the fundamentals of everything. And then from there.
I actually didn't know this before, but it's just a modifier. And apparently you can edit individual vertices in geometry nodes. Mind blown. This was almost as crazy as when I found out that you could count by tens. Learn something new every day, huh? Anyway, the course walks me through how to create a snowman out of any object by joining different meshes together and moving them in place. This helped me get a feel of the possibilities I could do with geometry nodes. 8 AM. Before I could say geometry node, it was breakfast. While eating breakfast, I pondered into the distance, asking myself if what I learned was even useful. Even though I learned so much, I still felt like I knew nothing. Well, no sense in wasting time thinking about it. We're on a deadline. Time to collect references. I knew I wanted this render to have a huge sense of scale. Some grass, concrete walls, oh, and some fog. Thoughts start running back into my head on how I'm actually going to use geometry nodes to make this. And then it hit me. I quickly blocked out my scene with a cube on either side to create a mysterious cliff that leads your eye out into the horizon. Create a little rock in front of the camera as a placeholder for now, and then start up on detailing the side wall. At first, I thought I could create a procedural cave that molded into a realistic depiction of whatever shape you edited. But then I realized I only know how to make a snowman. Or did I? I looked back on YouTube to desperately find something I could work with and remembered this tutorial by Max Hay. Basically, he goes over using geometry nodes to scatter objects instead of a particle system. I went into my cube, created this interesting node setup, and now it's spreading objects from this collection all over my cube. In this collection called Wall, I know, very creative, I have 4 different objects that started out as just a cube and then duplicated in edit mode to create variety, then slapped a concrete texture on it. Oh, by the way, quick tip. When modeling things like this, turn on correct face attributes in edit mode. What this does is continues the texture when you edit the mesh instead of stretching it like before. Onto the grass. I use that same object scatter trick. Here's a node setup if you're curious. When it comes to creating realistic nature in Blender, especially grass, it's all about layers. Grass isn't just grass. Let me explain. Instead of taking this clump of grass and duplicating it over 100 times, let's think about what's under the grass. What's around the grass? Are there any weeds or flowers? Now we have a beautiful clump of nature that's way more realistic than whatever this is. I used to always use a grass texture under my particle system until I realized that made no sense. We already have grass in the scene, so I used this rocky ground texture instead. Oh, by the way, all these plants are from the G-Scatter add-on with a bunch of different assets. They don't sponsor me or anything, just an awesome free tool, and I think more people should know about it. Let's finally replace that cube with a real rock. Oh my G jolly. When I was doing this, Blender crashed so many times. Every time I went into material mode, crash. Try and select Blender, crash. Go into edit mode, crash. Go into the render view, crash. This made it a lot harder to keep going, knowing that I'll keep losing progress at this rate. Will I have enough time to finish? Stop. Of course you will. There's no other option. I dove back into the project going into a flow state, dialed in on the task at hand. I found out that if I stayed in object mode and saved often, Blender shouldn't crash. Completely forgetting that I'm recording myself, I go from object to object, refining, detailing, analyzing. It was perfect. Then the next step came along. The determiner of a good render. This could make or break my final render. Hey, sorry for interrupting, but I have an announcement to make. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. It's insane. I thank you guys so much for going this far and supporting the journey along the way. And I have so many big plans for videos in the future. So please consider subscribing because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of August. And I think we can do it. I really do. Okay, thank you. Lighting. The lighting was simple, just a sun pointed at the cliff. But my wall just refused to reflect the light. Look at this. It looks horrible. We're going for realism here. And then this grass. It's black. Everything was overexposed or way too dark. This is because of Blender's new update. They recently added a new color management that gives more accurate color data for product rendering. Basically, it bumps up the saturation and contrast of everything. Of course, I decided to stick with it though because I thought it would save me time in Photoshop later. How wrong I was. So, what did I do? I turned down the saturation of every object in my scene. Oh my gosh. Let's make some bridges. This render made no sense. I mean, these bridges aren't really going anywhere. But it doesn't matter. That's the beauty of creating 3D art. There's no rules, just have fun. Don't worry about what the camera doesn't see. I added a brick texture on the bridge along with a crash. Yeah, can't save in material mode. I recorded my reaction, but it was so glitchy because Blender was crashing. You can kind of see I wasn't too happy. Well, no help in complaining about it. I made the bridge again, really crunching on time. I'm pretty proud of how it turned out though, especially when I made it look all broken up with a bunch of cubes as booleans to make it look like some bricks fell out of place. Duplicated this bridge all over the scene, then had one more thing left to do. Arguably the most important, adding a character on the rock. I definitely wasn't going to model a character, and I'm not going to search for hours trying to find a realistic model, so I went onto Unsplash, a free stock footage website, and searched for Explorer. And wow, this was like one of the first ones that came up. It's actually perfect. Spent a good hour cutting it out in Photoshop. That's such a cool photo though. Like, as soon as I took that photo, they were probably like, yeah, let's go. Come on, Brittany. You look so good in that. Oh my gosh, Brittany. You're just stunning. Like, I wish I had your body, because my boyfriend he never touches me anymore. And then brought it into Blender. It fits seamlessly. If you're an environment artist, you know this all too well. Going through a final render, wanting to change something, then going back and rendering it again, and this always goes on for longer than it should. But it's all worth it in the end. Don't forget to edit your final renders in Photoshop. I mean, just look at the difference it makes. If you found anything in this video interesting, I have another challenge video where I break down how I made my dream render. This video took about 2 months to make, and I think it deserves some love, so check it out.